day, beautiful Self-Care Diaries viewers. I trust that you are doing well, and this morning, afternoon, or evening that you're watching this episode. I'm so excited to bring Fiona de Sousa into the online space, and we're going to be talking about some juicy dating stories, but most importantly, her amazing Shekhinah experience that she takes people through. Fiona, welcome. You look gorgeous today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. So wonderful to be, albeit virtually, among amazing women and people who are interested in this particular modality.
Amazing. So I'm going to jump straight in and read your bio here, where Fiona explores and investigates what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, outside of social, cultural, and religious teachings. Not the roles or behaviors of, not the political agendas of, but what it really means. What is masculine? What is feminine? How do we engage with another based on self-concept? How do we define self and self-worth and self-value? This will determine how we manage our relationships. What kind of relationship do you want? You can have any kind you want. Just be conscious of what you are choosing so that you know who is responsible for the outcome. This brings peace. This brings self-regulation. This creates the reality you really want from your life and your relationships. Stunning. Thank you, Fiona. So Fiona is a transformational coach, a mother, and a divorcee. She is dating a really dishy chap, but we're going to speak to, I hope you don't mind me saying that. A real power couple. It was so lovely to meet you the other day at Max's birthday and just see that it really is possible to see a couple both very much in their own power, and very much into each other. It's a really beautiful thing to see, and I can see that you've both done the work, and that you continue to do the work on yourselves, and the energy between you is very solid, and it's very loving, and really beautiful to witness it. It does inspire me, as those that have maybe only watching this the first time. I am going through a divorce at the moment, so I look forward to meeting my partner in life. But first, Fiona, we had such a giggle that night. You were telling me we were sharing dating experiences that have just been absolutely horrific, and that one story about, I don't want to give it away, if you don't mind sharing with us.
So this was the crux of the matter, that now being a divorcee, one is back in the dating game, and to a degree, it's a lot of fun. You've rediscovered your femininity, your sensuality, your sexuality. It's fun to dress up. You want to go out there. You want to meet different people, engage with different energies. And so we make use of all these wonderful technologies that are available to us, the various dating apps. And having met a number of people who were decent beings, nice people, and yet there was no connectivity, you continue to explore. And one day I said, there's nothing that I haven't seen. There's nothing that I haven't explored out there. And be careful of your words, because you'll be shown, oh yes, there is. There's more to come, just when you think you've discovered all of what humanity is about. So one particular evening, I was sitting at a restaurant waiting for my date to arrive, very debonair, very dashing, very handsome, a little bit younger than me. And he arrives, and walking next to him is an elderly man. I estimated him to be late 80s, with a Zimmer frame, struggling. My date was supporting this gentleman, so I thought, oh, okay, well, slightly disappointing that he's brought his father, and yet that speaks to what a kind heart, what a wonderful nature he has. So that's probably a good thing. His character is such that he couldn't leave Dad at home, whatever the case is. Brings Dad, sits Dad down, introduces him, asks if I mind that Dad's on the date. We order wine, and we haven't even ordered the main course yet, where, with a very serious face, he says to me, so I've brought Dad along on the date because I was wondering, would you do us both tonight together? One of those moments when you step into the surreal. Did I hear that accurately? am I imagining this? Is this some sort of Lewis Carroll through the looking glass moment? What just happened? It took in a social atmosphere, and so my retort was comical. All I could think of in the moment to say was, well, I would. It's just that I don't know if his insurance papers are in order, and I don't want to sort of be liable for his death. That a little bit of humor would, give the message. Not so. This gentleman persists, and he begins to accuse me of being judgmental and all sorts of things. At which point, obviously, I very quickly took a last gulp of wine. I needed it to get myself to the car and excuse myself. So in a way, a wonderful experience. At the moment, rather shocking. My knees were shaking. I was, what is out there? What have I gotten myself into? How vulnerable are we as women and dating, even though it's in a public space? And yet afterwards, I found such extreme value in realizing, wow, where are people coming from? What are their experiences? What are the norms that seem to be acceptable in today's dating world? Is this how it is? What am I missing? Why am I not realizing that this seems to be sort of standard issue? So it became a source of quite a lot of research that I was able to do.
Yeah, I also called it research. I call my dating research. I went on a date on Friday night, and hell of a sweet guy, quirky, funny, like really lovely, and also been married twice. And I was like, okay, cool, he won't judge me about that. And he says to me, men like things, and women like, like objects, things, and women like people, So I was like, yeah, sure. But surely we evolve as a species, and men look to being interested in people, because that's why relationships fall apart, is that people don't look after other people, like not look after, but don't care for other people. So he's like, yeah, but men, it's like they want a damsel in distress. They want somebody that they can rescue. And I said to him, listen, like, I don't need to be rescued emotionally, spiritually, mentally, or physically. Like, I'm very much happy in my own skin, and I'd love to meet somebody that is a superhero. If they want to be a superhero, they're next to me. Like, I'm Wonder Woman, and you can. He's like, but I don't understand. I don't know how. If I can't rescue you, then how, like, what's my job? I said, dude, you can choose every day. You can be Batman, you can be Robin, you can be Superman. Like, every day you can change your personality and go and take on the world and go and serve and go and make this world a better place. And I could see, like, it shut down in him, because he really didn't know what that meant. He really didn't know how to... So I'm using that example is that both these men clearly haven't done their work, clearly haven't, and I don't mean to say that to judge them or to look down on them, not at all. We're living in an age, right, where men and women are being invited to waken. And waken means, for me, becoming conscious. And conscious, if I take it one step further with regards to dating, has got to do with what you speak there about the feminine and the masculine, not men and women, but the feminine and masculine energies or aspects within each of us. So I might present as a woman, but I've actually got a very strong masculine line to me, because we've lived in a masculine world. And so to survive, that's how I've learned to show up in the world. So a long time I was like, the toxic patriarchy, until I stood in the mirror the one day and I was like, the toxic patriarchy is in me, And so that consciousness is really what I speak to. So I'd love to hear your opinion about that. Because I know that that's really where your heart lies with the Shekhinah experience. So maybe tell us a bit about the Shekhinah experience from a relationship point of view.
So that's exactly what we've experienced, that men and women don't really know how to engage with one another consciously. They kind of fall into it and got to figure it out as they go along. And I feel for our men have it a lot harder than what we imagine, because young little boys are encouraged to express their emotions, to cry, to run to mommy, to be comforted and nurtured when they're injured, when they're very little. And so the neural networks are made to say, when you are feeling pain or emotional hurt, express it and you'll be comforted. And after a period of time, at around about 7 years old, something changes. The rules of the game change, where all of a sudden to express your emotion makes you, there's all these words that are associated to it, weak and mommy's boy, and the words get worse and worse. And so they've got to learn that that's not the rules of the game for the masculine world. I need to be this rough, tough, mean, heartless, strong persona. And they perfect the persona. It's not necessarily who they are. They perfect the persona. And all of a sudden at 18, 19, 20, when they want to get involved in a serious relationship, once again, the feminine energy, the woman, is saying, why don't you share with me? Why don't you tell me how you feel? Why don't you communicate with me? So it must be quite a mind blow to go, well, I learned the rules of the game where I was rewarded for being emotional. Then those rules changed through childhood and puberty, and now you're asking me to play on that field again. What do I do? How do I show up? What is expected of me? Politically, the agenda is someone who's aggressive is leaning towards women abuse, and we have all these campaigns. And yet, that's what you want. You want somebody strong, you want somebody powerful, you want somebody kind of who stands their ground. So how do I balance that? There's no one to teach men this. There's no one to explore this with men. Not that anybody can actually teach it to them. There's nobody to explore this with them. And so what is the default position? The default position is, as a gentle, nurturing male, I've got to rescue. It's an allegorical story. I've got to be the prince, the knight in shining armor. I've got to be strong. I can't be emotional. And so we really just show up as a facade. We really just show up as an act. We don't create spaces for men to actually explore what hurts me, what triggers me, and how do I express that in a non-violent, non-confrontational way. Women, on the other hand, we have it easy. We do in this particular context. We're born into the world of women. We stay in the world of women. We're taught by mommy and our friends that when we cry, we're comforted. When we're little girls, when we're teenagers, when we cry, all our friends gather around us. We go to mommy when we're pregnant. We go to mommy when we're giving birth. So we stay in the world of emotions. We're comfortable with emotions. We're comfortable with expressing them. When we go to book club, when we go to girls' days, what do? We express our emotions, and we're rewarded with friendships. Not so for the masculine energy. So this is the stuff that we explore in our workshops to say, so then how can we create safe spaces for us to simply share where we are moved, where we are shifted, what's important to us, what hurts, as both feminine and masculine. And I think the idea is that if you're able to create safe spaces for people to explore their emotional well-being, relationships will flow a lot more authentically.
Yeah, I mean, it's I speak about my own experience in being involved with a man that, you know, is British, and so emotions are definitely, I mean, like not discussed, and I understand what you mean by creating safety for men to be able to share that space. And the picture that I got now is that when a man in his adulthood starts to express his emotions, they're not going to be as fine-tuned as the way that we because we've been doing it for, I'm 48, so I've been doing it for 48 years. In my home, it wasn't safe to express my emotions. I was not held by mommy. I was not celebrated by my sisters if I spoke my truth. I as a woman, didn't have that experience. And I turned to drugs and alcohol was one of the reasons why, because I felt unwanted, unloved, and unseen. So, and booze made me feel better. I felt more part of the clan. But I hear what you're saying, and that women have had more of an experience to practice it. But I don't think that women have had an experience in the general of being with men who know how to experience, how to express themselves. And whilst I know that men don't know how to do that, it doesn't absolve them from the responsibility to do that. It's because I think that the modeling is such that generational emotional, like what's the opposite of emotional intelligence? Like not emotional intelligence. Children will then see that modeling and marry and date men that are also not emotionally present. So I feel like somewhere along the line, dads need to take responsibility, if not for their marriages, at least for their daughters, to show them because there's no way. A man is not emotionally, or he is emotionally intelligent in one area of his life. No ways. It goes across all areas of our lives, and I think emotional intelligence is vital at work, it's vital at home, it's vital in our community. And gender-based violence, I think, is escalated due to emotional intelligence not being a priority. Because hurt people, right?
That's it. There's a joke that you may have heard that says men do have feelings. Of course they have feelings. They feel tired and they feel hungry. Mm-hmm. So, and horny.
Horny, yeah.
That's the sum total of their feelings, because that's all that's been socially appropriate to express for a period of time. And yet, if men did not have a feminine aspect to them, they wouldn't be able to formulate relationships of any type at any stage, because it's the feminine aspect that is emotional, that can form relationships. So it's there, and yet they simply have to be almost given consent to explore it and to really change the dialogue and say that doesn't make you weak. In fact, your vulnerability is what attracts us to you. It's what makes you strong. And yet in the workplace, you need to shift gears. In the workplace, if a woman, for example, bursts into tears at the workplace, she's generally comforted. If a man does, there's still that stigma of, what's wrong with you? And so I think it's just about creating spaces where we say, where am I coming from? What is my core protection mechanism? Because we all have a protection mechanism. And so we get into relationships without having explored our protection mechanisms. And that's where we get triggered. We get offended. We get insulted when a person shows up in a particular way. And yet it's actually got nothing to do with that person. It's actually got nothing to do with them. They're simply doing what they do. It is our defense mechanisms that the hackles rise, because I've been hurt before, because I don't trust, because I've been taken for granted. And I think what doing the work is really exploring what are my barriers, what are my defense mechanisms, what are my fallback positions of behavior when I'm hurt or when I'm insulted, how do I show up? When I've explored what they are and when I know them and I can identify them, I can choose consciously in a given moment to change the way I show up. And to me, and I've only really been exploring this for the past 6-7 years, this is how you create healthy relationships. This is how you sustain relationships. The dating world out there, it seems to be a world in which anything goes. It seems to be a world in which friends with benefits, just one night stands. It's accepted. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying whether it ought to be so or not. And yet, in this world, where do we formulate real connections? How do we formulate real connections where it's a quick hit and miss? There's hundreds of thousands of people on the app. I'm just going to flick past you if you don't see the world the way I do. And let's be honest, when you're in that space, when that's where you are, that's fun. That's all I want. I just want a quick sexual connection or meeting a whole bunch of people. And yet when we begin to get, let's call it lonely or pine for some more intimate connection, what is intimacy? What is intimacy? I have a definition that I use at my center. Intimacy is into me, see, or see into me. When you see into me, we have intimacy. How do I create that? How do we know we're safe? So, yeah, in essence, it doesn't really matter where you are on that spectrum, whether you're just having fun, carefree dating and the one night stand is your thing, because it's where you need to be for a period of time. You need to explore yourself. But when it comes to, I want a relationship that works, that's where we start.
That's where the intimacy comes in. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I could speak to you for hours. There's so much, there's so much around being conscious within relationship, and I mean, just communication styles. Like if we talk about creating safety for there to be intimacy, and I realize that in my relationships there might be intimacy, or I might want intimacy, but the other person doesn't want to be seen into, because they have a very strong shame bias, like they're very ashamed of themselves. So when I see them as the shamed person, but I also see the goodness that's in them, that is terrifying, absolutely terrifying, because if they feel seen, and they don't want to feel seen in those ways. So intimacy is something, like people think intimacy is like this positive, like happy, like no, intimacy can be really messy and uncomfortable, but Brené Brown speaks so powerfully about creating safety and who are we vulnerable with, and she calls it the shame shower, of how like that shame just descends on us when we're seen, and often when somebody sees us, we see that we feel like they see us with a judgment, but they're actually like that was what my experience was. But I was like, no, I just see, like I see you. I see like there's shame, that you're struggling with shame, but I also see this other person that's like really trying in this world to give back and do beautiful things. But the identity with shame was so huge that he couldn't see past it. So intimacy is a very interesting a space to navigate. And I mean, there's intimacy also on different levels, right? Intimacy on emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual levels. It's not just intimacy on a physical level. And the intimacy parties that I run, like the bespoke parties that I run for people with their friends, and so there'll be more information about that at the end of the video, is about having these meaty conversations about what does intimacy look like, how do we create safety, how do we hold someone in their vulnerability, how do we not take things on, like all of that kind of stuff. So Fiona, thank you for joining me today. I mean, what one thing would you like to leave the listeners with today?
If I could leave them with one thing, it would be this. Explore yourself to a degree where you truly connect with and know how magnificent you are, how powerful you are, how incredible and amazing you are. Explore yourself in all your ugliness, in all your darkness, in all your what you may perceive as weakness and shame, and love yourself so wonderfully, so magnificently, that in essence you could really get into a relationship with anybody, because when you're doing that, you will automatically have appropriate boundaries. You will have learned to love yourself to such a degree that you will be able to shine and be your flirtatious, amazing self without validation from another. You will be able to draw boundaries without being aggressive about it, because it's this simple. No, it's not okay for a magnificent, wonderful person to be exposing themselves to this type of scenario. So the key message for me really is explore and discover your own magnificence, and then step out onto the stage of life and enjoy. And relationships aren't always going to work out. When we explore and we love each other, we can part ways in a very different sort of style, with I thank you for sharing yourself with me for this period of time. I wish you well on your adventure. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. Amazing, amazing. So please, I will put Fiona's details at the end of this video, and when it goes live in the comments, please feel free to like and share and comment, and let me know what other topics around dating are things that you're struggling with. If there's anybody you think that would be great for me to interview, please let them get hold of me. And thank you again, Fiona, for your wisdom and for every choice that you've made, that your bum's on that seat today, that we may spend this time together. My heart and my soul honor you, and thank you for those decisions you made. Some of them must have been really hard, and some of them really beautiful. So I admire your courage to be birthed at this time, and for showing up so powerfully and helping people to see their magnificence. So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.